Hey guys! Tonight I'm going to be talking about Utopia that was established along the Ohio River. Yep, that's right. At some point in Ohio history, mainly in the mid 1800s, there was a utopia that was established twice, but both failed, while the second ended in tragedy. Now, we all are familiar with Utopia, which has happened all over the world, and we all know that establishing a utopia is not a realistic goal, and that doesn't always end well. Here are the stories of how the two attempts of establishing a perfect society ended in tragedy. In 1844, John Way Lawford and Frenchman Charles Fourier seek to create a new civilization away from the evil and corruption of the modern world. They migrated to a secluded farming area where they seek to create a utopia free and protected from the outside world. They condemned and rejected all long established institutions and had viewed mechanicism and industrialization as evil and corrupt. Under the guidance of Fourier, Lawford and his followers built a two-story brick building with over 30 rooms where they and their followers reside. From then on, they will create their perfect world. They wanted to create a farming community where all the workload is divided accordingly and everyone is treated as equals and living in peace and harmony. They also wanted to create what appeared to be a utopian socialism. The future is looking brighter than ever. However, 2 years later, in 1886, Lutford realized that success is unlikely and their utopia ultimately failed. Wanting to salvage the cost of this failed experiment, Lutford and his followers sold the brick building to another spiritualist named John O. Watteau, who him and his followers also seek to create their own utopia and their own version of a perfect world. That very same year, after the building was purchased, Watteau and his followers, which is over 100 members, seek to create their own perfect world. They believe that while their physical form may have perished, but their spirit lives on into the afterlife, ever live than ever before. In other words, in their beliefs, no one really dies, even though it's an everyone thing, but they believe that their own beliefs and their version of a perfect society is the perfect solution of creating a utopia. However, this utopia will be short-lived, much shorter, after a fatal decision that will cost the lives of all but 6 members of the society that they sought to create. After the spiritualists took possession of the brick building, they decided to move the building closer to the river, where they added an extra story and a basement. However, this decision proved to be fatal. Construction of the new building by the river was completed and at a rapid pace. On the eve of December 13th, 1887, the building hosted its first and only housewarming party. As the celebration progresses, Waddles and his followers celebrated the beginning of a new era and the start of a new society. However, as the celebration goes on, Waddles and his followers notice leaks coming through the cracks of the basement and all parts of the building. Then suddenly, without warning, the river burst its banks and washed away the building, and all who reside in it perish. This flash flood was a catastrophe, and only 6 people survived. And not much is known about them afterwards, but over a century later, in 1917, the building was purchased by a family where they restored it and used it as a museum and home for many generations to come. However, this was just only the beginning as the hauntings of the building began. The family and many visitors have claimed to have seen the apparitions of 6 individuals dressed in wet and white garments, and a lady in particular who was wearing a blue dress and a bonnet. These were the spirits of the individuals who had survived the flooding, although it could be some of the members who have perished in the building during the flooding of 1887. However, while we can't know for sure who these individuals really are, but we do know that despite the tragedy that had occurred, and that one building that they once resided in is now occupied, Utopia is definitely one of the most haunted places on Earth. Not much has happened except an account of a 4-year-old girl who was the daughter of the family had said to have spotted the individuals outside their door while her parents were filming a show for their annual Halloween event, and based on her description, it was the same individual everyone has seen who are wearing the same clothing that they wore on that fateful night, still wet and still holding on to the belief of a perfect society. Let this be a lesson to all of you. Creating a society based on perfection, or in other words, a utopia where the world seems perfect, is not a realistic goal. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and comment your favorite ghost stories, and give me your suggestions on which haunted places I should talk about next. And until next time, stay classy, and I'll see you all in the next video.